It says in Parashat Bereshit that HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, "Na'aseh Adam betzalmenu uchedmutenu." We should make a man in our image. We start talking about it a little bit beforehand, but we need to expand on this and just explain it maybe a little further in. When the pasuk says Adam in this fashion, does not mean a human being. So that's the mistake that most people have, that they say, well, one second, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu says we should make a man in our image, ketzalmenu chedmutenu, and our form, so therefore, hey, God himself said he has a form. Some people made a religion out of that. That's not what it means here. So to our aid comes the Ari, and really dedicated chapters upon chapters in his writing, in his teaching, to that concept. And we have to remember, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created this world, and created the worlds, when we refer to the worlds in the mystical terms, scientifically we only have this world that we live in, and so on and so forth. But mystically, there are more than one worlds. Not that there is another set of universes with planets and people walking, but rather different levels of awareness of what it is, different realities. And you could see it, very much so, just by the mere fact that two people can go through the same experience and have a completely different outlook, and by that have a completely different reality of what exactly happened. So just so on and so forth. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu created this world and the worlds in order to be kind and good to the people, to be able to give them. Which is, again, a wonderful concept to deal with or to contemplate on, even on your own. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu created this whole creation just to be able to give from himself, from the goodness to others, see what happens. You become selfish and you don't want to give anymore. The whole thing is giving from yourself. So therefore, when you don't want to give from yourself, when you don't recognize the goodness that is within you and you want to give it further to other people, those who need it, in a way you're going against creation. In God's eyes, you're doing the most abnormal and unnatural thing to do. Why it's unnatural? Because the whole world was set on giving and giving and giving. You see it in anything, almost in any healthy relationship of that there is. What do I mean? The mother gives to the child. She gives from herself. She gives herself to the child. The father, let's say, goes to work, gives himself. He doesn't work for himself. He works for what? If I'm going to ask you, why does a person go to work? You say, well, to support his family. Why does he need to support the family? Let him worry about it, right? No. Giving. From yourself to others. A teacher to a student. Right? Sharing knowledge. It's all about giving. And the problem with many relationships today is that are not based on giving or wanting to give more than wanting to get. And by definition, that's doomed to a failure. Because it's not what should I get from this relationship, what have you done for me lately? More, what can I do for you lately? What do you want to give from yourself? And if you have two people or two entities that are willing to give from themselves to each other for a common cause, you have harmony. If only one side gives and the other side receives, it's disharmony. So to create such a thing, HaKadosh Baruch Hu put into place a system where in a way we feel we give something from ourselves. HaKadosh Baruch Hu again does not need anything, but just to make it to play with a rule. He created, you need to give. And the best thing that Kadosh Baruch Hu asks you to give is kindness and time to dedicate. So again, when you do the right thing, and let's say you give your time to come and learn Torah, not only you're coming to learn Torah because you have to, because that's what needs to be done, and so on and so forth, you're also setting an example of how things needs to be done. You learn to give from yourself, and all of a sudden you find a guy or a chavruta that is not up to your level, and you learn to give. And there is no bigger satisfaction than the realization that you have somebody to give to. It's a tremendous satisfaction. So once you realize that, if somebody takes the object of your giving, it would upset you. Because what's the point? Okay, so I'm a big chacham, I know a lot, and so on and so forth, but if I'm standing within my domain and not sharing it with other, what's the point of my knowledge? I mean, it sounds like a Zen question, like if a tree falls in the forest, and nobody is around to hear, it doesn't make any sound. So I'm going to tell you, what's the point of the forest if nobody walks in it? What's the point of learning if you can share it with someone? Understanding those things, or even dealing with those things, will bring you into a deep dwelling into concepts of creation. Very philosophical, but this is really what it is. And Kabbalah goes hand in hand with philosophy, because it's all a matter of the mind, of how to live life. So, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created that, and He created something that we will feel proud in ourselves, that we'll do things and we get a bischut, because we earn it, because we deserve it, lo bechesed. Because then, if I create a system of entitlement, together with the entitlement, I would create feelings of resentment. That's why before you put in place an entitlement system, you have to be very careful, because then you're going to be a system of motion of resentment. It's not good to make people used to entitlement, because it's unnatural. So regardless of how much you give people, they will not be happy. You give them free housing, not happy. You give them this, they're not happy. You give them free money, they're wasted on drugs, on guns, on who knows what. You give them free Medicaid, there's going to be a bigger catastrophe. Give them the tools to do what? Choose. Give them the means. Create jobs. Let's, for example, take the healthcare system. Create jobs. Give discount. Why does government need all this money for? For what? Why does government need to tax us at such high level? So they can spend more money. So they take more money from us and they spend it more. On what do they spend it? On creating a system of entitlement. And it's a cycle that is unbreakable. And regardless of that, people are very unhappy. So therefore, in return, what do? Lower the taxes, make people... or make opportunities for people to get a job. They'll buy more, you get taxes from that. Create a system where people will have to choose. They could choose. They have 20 different, let's say healthcare systems, or if they want to choose not to have healthcare. You can force a person to be healthy, unless you view the person as a pawn in your schemes. But, if a person wants to smoke and dope and do whatever, that's his choice. So let people choose. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu created this system of choosing, bechira. That's why the more choices you have, the more free you would be. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted us to be free. He created a whole system of whatever you want to do. The whole world is in front of you. Choose whatever you want. I could just give you an advice. I can give you an advice. Choose good things. But if you want to choose bad, that's your call. That's my advice to you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not, we should learn from HaKadosh Baruch Hu how to live our lives. And the reasons why governments don't work, all over the world, governments don't work, it's because their tendency is to, through entitlement, imprison the people, not to free the people, which is a very unnatural way to do how the world was created. Yes, people need to have some boundaries, like we have to have boundaries. We have the mitzvot. So therefore you see from here that Judaism is a very natural way to live life. It gives you freedom, and yet it gives you boundaries. There's a certain limit to everything. You go so much left, and go so much right. But in between, there's a vast ocean of choose whatever you want. Again, this is why regimes or dictatorships or philosophical concepts that oppose freedom would first of all take their battle against Judaism, because Judaism symbolizes more than anything else freedom, the ability to choose. Choosing, it's a wonderful thing. And as you see, most people are trained not to choose. Most people are trained not to make a decision. So now, by choosing that, you also create a system of sachar ve'onesh, punishment and reward, and so on and so forth. And we should know that those realities that we have, or these are pieces of realities, come to really fulfill each other and they create a picture in order to reach what we call tachlit abriya, the essence of creation. So therefore we need to reach that, we need two conditions. Condition number one, that all the components will be in existence, as we said before, and that those components would also complete each other and will be one unit. In order to reach the true potential of us as Jews, or we need to have Jews. A, they need to be present. B, that all the Jews will be able to be united together. Since we can't be united, we can function. It's like a person that will have the most amazing body, ripped muscles, terrific heart, smart, looks, whatever you want. In theory, that is the perfect human being. He has an IQ of, 157, and his body mass is 8.5. He is healthy, he is handsome, and in all the right proportions. Good, right? Wrong. Forgot to tell you. He suffers from multiple and very ferocious seizures. Oh, well, what good is it that? It can't function. What happened in a seizure? Your body's out of control. The hand goes this way, the other hand goes the other way, the legs, everything works on its own. There is no central mass that controls everything and puts everything to work together. Right now, our body is working, and the brain is like pinpointing everything in perfect balance, so we'll be able to function. When this internal balance comes about, the whole body stops functioning. You want to see an example? Not a problem. Your body is a harmonious system. And again, there are millions of sensors that send constant data to your brain, and your brain miraculously processes them and able to put everything, translate everything, even though 80% of it is water, somehow, by a miracle almost, makes us function. All of a sudden, you have one little speck of dust, not even a bug, one speck of dust, that somehow penetrated into your nostrils and created an allergic reaction, or some dander from a cat. That in return started to create a chain reaction of having postnasal drips and sneezing and an allergic reaction, and all of a sudden you're out of balance. This is one little particle of cat dander that penetrates your nose. Now you want to see what is a dysfunctioning person? Not a problem. Now snort cocaine and see what happens to you. again, as we spoke last night, if you want to go on a mystical journey, on a spiritual journey, it cannot be done. Cannot. Not just can't, cannot be done using any foreign substances at all. You got to be clean, pure, and intact. You can always drop it, but while you're in it, you cannot go into a spiritual and mystical journey. You cannot. It will never happen. You can hallucinate. There's a difference between hallucinations and a spiritual trip. You cannot reach the essence of creation only, again, when all parts of reality, which is creation, human being, the mitzvah HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us, through the rules of how to act and how to act in Avodat HaBoreh, in what does it mean to be a Jew, and so on and so forth. Sachar va'onesh, punishment. These are the examples for different systems that work. For example, if I have a body, which I do, I have a digestive system, I have a nerve system, I have, whatever other systems I got there, right? And they all work in harmony with each other together, and I need them all. Can you see a person living without a digestive system? It's impossible. Can you have a person without a functioning nerve system? It's impossible. It's not living. Maybe at best it's in life support, but it's impossible. So is creation, needs all those components in order to have it. So if you think that you can live life as a Jew, I'm a Jew by definition, without keeping mitzvot, without realizing that you need to choose between good and bad, without realizing there is sachar ve'onish, there is a consequences to your action. Sachar ve'onish, when people regard to it as punishment and reward, it's not like, you do this, I'll punish you. That's not about this. It's about sachar ve'onish is another term for consequences for your actions. That's the law of physics. If you don't have all this in place, you can never reach the essence of creation, tachlit habriya, the essence, the purpose of creation. You're not going to reach that goal of fulfilling your life with what you should have done. In other words, you are slacking on your job. When you throw away your mitzvot away from you, that's now why is it that you harm the creation. I don't want to do this mitzvah. What do you mean you don't want to do this mitzvah? All right, how about this? How about I'm going to pull half of your mouth from your teeth? You don't need it. Well, I'm going to only chew on this side? Yeah, that's what happens when I decided not to do arvit. I don't want to daven arvit. Okay, how about if I don't want to keep, give me a tani, second days of galuyot. I don't want to do second days. I don't feel like it. All right, guess what? What's the purpose of this piece of skin hanging out, cartilage hanging out from your ear? Nothing. Just give me 1 second. I'll just slice it off. But don't do that. There is a consequences to your actions. You can't just take over. So when you don't do, you are affecting the whole creation. And not only your reality, the reality of others, not only your part of creation, you're affecting all of us as humans. You're hurting us. Why? Because you are a part of a big system. If you have one cell in the body that starts to act on its own, that does not comply with the rest of its cells, the same cells, let's say a skin cell. You have, billions of skin cells in your body. But you have one skin cell that decided to act differently. It mutated itself. What happens? How do you call it? Cancer! Now that's what happens. And what happens when a person has cancer? At the end he dies. Why he dies? Because that spreads all over. You're hurting the world. And that's, now you could understand what the Rambam says, right? And you see, there's no difference between Kabbalah and the Rambam. It's all Torah Achat. That's when they are the same. When they start to go into hocus pocus, that's something else for me. That's not Kabbalah. Kabbalah is a vehicle to understand creation, not to gain personal power so you can bless waters and make money out of it. It's not Kabbalah. It is Kabbalah, about Kabbalah of receiving money, not Kabbalah of receiving knowledge from your rabbis. That's not what we're talking about. Mekubalim, they mekabel kesef. Ulai mebulbalim, not mekubalim. They're confused. That's not what Kabbalah is. Kabbalah comes to enhance your understanding of the world, of creation. So, in this concept of Torah Kabbalah, where it says Kabbalah, the concept of Adam, here, a man, what we call, it is a different reality than what we have. It's what we call Metziut Shlema. It's an intact reality that has all the tools to reach the purpose and to understand the purpose of creation. In other words, Adam is a reality by itself. So when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created Adam b'tzalmenu v'chedmutenu, in other words, He created a certain reality in which we could interact with, because we cannot interact with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Not that it is another entity. Just give us the vehicles to understand what He wants from us, to understand what perfection is all about. And that's why you don't need to look further out from your own self to understand how in harmony your body is, to understand how in harmony you have to act with other people. That's why Chachamim says, if a person creates fights and argument and so on and so forth, he's just a horrible person. You can put him in cherem and throw him out. Doesn't make a difference if he's a rabbi or he's I don't know what. Because that disharmony factor in the people hurts creation. And that reality of what we call Adam is not limited only to the physical person. But it could be there is Adam Ruchani, a spiritual part in all of us. Now in your neshama, there are components of your neshama, as we said earlier. There is a part of you that is in charge in vitality, and you need to multiply, to eat, and all these things. Spiritually, you also have to be harmonized. You can't let one part of your soul overcome the other. You can't let to be so spiritual that you decide not to eat anymore because it's a derogatory fashion that the animals do, so you are above that you don't eat. Can't have it. You create a harmony. You have to eat. Don't eat like a lunatic. Eat. In other words, don't start eating, shawarma at 11 o'clock at night. Okay? That's shawarma in amba, shuamra, im amba, gimatria, koch tefillah. You have to pray, but only in an appropriate time. I think it's Gematria 778 or something like that. Ridiculous. You see, you can make Gematria of anything, right? People like that, but it means nothing. In other words, you cannot also let the part in your body, on your soul, because remember, we said there is a spiritual body to the person and a physical body to the person. You can't let this part override the other ones. That all you're going to be involved with is eating and pleasures and so on and so forth. That's not something that was in our nature. That was something they did in Sdom or in Rome. Eat and drink because tomorrow we'll die, like they did in Pompeius. Eat and drink because tomorrow they'll die. Why you run? Why you gonna eat and drink? They got so immersed. They knew the mountain is going to burst, but they were so immersed with the passion. They said, okay, let's, who cares? As long as we can party one more day, we don't have to worry about life, just party. It's a ridiculous way to live life. And again, in understanding that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the tools to understand. What does it mean? HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the hands and the legs and so on and so forth to correspond and to be able to correspond with spirituality. Created entities that would go with that. For example, Keter will be the head. Tiferet will be, the stomach. Netzach and Hod will be parts of your leg. Gvura, Chesed will be your hand, and so on and so on and so forth. What does that mean? You take and you analyze, the Etz Chaim. You know what I'm talking about, Etz Chaim? You analyze. Give me the board 1 second. David, to have a pen will be nice. The Etz Chaim, the famous Kabbalistic logo, open it will be nicer, Sam. Will be, if you all know, it's going to be like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and somehow, in a very miraculous way, that's about it. Yeah, in a very miraculous way, somehow they're all connected. One of those things. This is the shape of the spiritual body. This is your head. This is your hand, this is your stomach, this is your thigh, this is your leg, and this is your sexual organs. If you understand now how hands work, and you will be able to relate to this, you'll be able to understand what does it mean. If this is the crown, it goes to the head. So for example, why did Chachamim said that the issue of Avodah Zarah is so chamur, right? So let's put here for Avodah Zarah. And here is going to be Ma'achalot Asurim, forbidden foods, because that represents the stomach. And this is going to be Gilui, Arayot, and inappropriate relations, and so on and so forth. Why Gazur al Bnotehem, right? They made a Gzerah on the bread because of their daughters, and so on and so forth. Very simple. Forgot this line. Because if you are involved in Gilui Arayot, an inappropriate sexual conduct, the straight line from this, through association of food, when you hang around with people and you eat the bread and the drink, wine, and at the end, the result of that is straight here to Avodah Zarah, straight here against HaKadosh Baruch Hu. As we had in the times of Midian, Habibi, why don't you buy something? Let's do some business. Have some wine, sit down and drink, get some bread, we'll have some sex. Guess what? Before we do that, do me a favor, bow down to this idol. Sure, I'll do this. Why? Because you didn't guard this. Now all of a sudden you see the wisdom of Chachamim says, listen, Pad Goyim, and so on and so forth. That will all resent into that, as the Torah said. The Torah told us, what the Torah said to us? Watch out for their daughters. Don't marry your sons to foreign daughters, because they're going to force the son to go after their God, and away from our God, from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And how do they do that? Very simple. You control the center. You want to have a drink? Why don't you get something to eat together? And that's how it happens. So you understand now why those things will do it to you. Eating non-kosher food, what the Ramban says, causes you timtum. It makes you spiritually opaque. Why? Because it's a direct line to your head. And the head, not this head, the spiritual head. And the spiritual head, which refers to your interaction with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the keter, the crown. You need to understand how that goes. And how does it do? Very simple. You have to learn how to choose. You have to learn how to choose, And you have to learn to understand that everything is for a purpose. And the most important thing that you could do is to find a purpose. And after you find your purpose, you have to go on the path of seeking this purpose. And you have to get yourself a guide that will guide you through this path, which is going to be the journey of your life. That's why the halacha in the Shulchan Aruch says, Aseh lecha rav. You have to make yourself a rav, a rabbi. And the title of the rabbi is Yoreh Yoreh. You will teach. Yoreh mishum lehorot, to teach. Somebody who will guide. The rabbi is your lantern that you walk ahead of you and shines light in this path that you go through, because otherwise it will be a complete darkness. So Rabotai, find a purpose, find a rabbi, find a guide. Don't be embarrassed. And most important thing, don't be afraid to choose. And if you're facing a situation that there's only one choice, make sure to create at least another one so you can choose. Not that you would be confused, so you can choose. It is a wonderful sight when you go on a marketplace outside, the farmers, and they bring the produce. It's an amazing sight, beautiful. Or you even go to a supermarket. It's just a regular, good old supermarket, a Pathmark, or one of those things. It's really a celebration to the eye. You see just the colors of the labels, and I can take this one, and this kind of oatmeal, and the other kind of oatmeal. It's a celebration. But in communist regime, during the Soviet era, you went to a supermarket, you had like rows upon rows of the same can of beans that is just like endless of one brand. That's why communism fell. Did not give people choice. If you like your people, give them a choice. If you like yourself, give yourself choices. But most important, before you give yourself choices, learn how to choose. Believe in those who allow you and teach you to choose, not those who will tell you that they will choose for you. These are the people you should stay away from. Have a great day and a happy journey.